So thanks for joining me for this burpee workshop, guys. The burpee tends to be a movement that people don't really think about as being skilled. We work on our pull-ups, we work on our Olympic lifting, but we don't think of burpees as a movement that requires skill training, but it absolutely is. There's a lot that we can do wrong with this, which makes it not only quite inefficient and ineffective, but also can actually make it quite dangerous, particularly on the lower back. So what I basically want to go through is some techniques and methods that we can introduce into this movement, which is going to mean that we are not going to be causing any of the damage that may be happening as a result of this. So in essence, basically a burpee is just moving from a neutral standing position to a neutral prone position, back to a jumping neutral standing position again. And the key point is that in between these points, we're looking to maintain neutral as well. So basically neutral is where we are keeping our spine in a position where it's not hyperflexed, it's not hyperextended. When we go into a hyperflexed position, we can start to get some issues through the discs in between our vertebrae. When we're in a hyperextended position, we can start to get some issues with the facets. So firstly, the reason the burpees are so tough and they're sort of globally hated by people is because we're going from a prone position to a standing position, and it's the change in postures that elevates the heart rate so much. Also makes it a great cardiovascular tool. So what I want to do, guys, everyone standing up for me, and I want you to go down into a deadlift position. All right, so the absolute lowest deadlift position that you can get into. So as if you're holding a bar, you're setting up for a deadlift, the hips are high, so you feel the hamstrings engaging as low as you can into the deadlift. Everyone hold that position for me. Okay, so that will be the position that you will be dropping from, and that will be the position that you are jumping back to. All right, you can stand up for me there. Cool. So what tends to happen with burpees is people go from standing, they put their hands on the ground, and you can see this huge rounding of the lumbar spine. Now, we would never allow that if you were doing a deadlift, because we perceive deadlifts as more dangerous because it's a big weight. But if you're doing 100 burpees and you've got 100 or 200, because it's 2 each rep, loads of the spine, it's not going to be the best thing. So the first thing we're going to do, that's the position we're going to be going to and from. So from standing, now down into your deadlift position. Everyone go to there for me. Now if you're super flexible here and you can get your hands almost to the ground, it's going to be easier. If you're tight here in this position, you won't be able to go as low, meaning you have to jump more now. So from this position, the back is staying neutral. You're going to drop to the ground, to there. So everyone do that for me. So what you should have found now, everyone just take it back to standing. So what you should have found now is that there's quite a big drop, and to keep your spine neutral, that's what needs to happen. You can't put your hands on the ground and then kick your feet out. So let's do that again for me, guys, from where you are, down to the bottom of a deadlift position, and then drop to the ground. Good, and rest. So what some of you have done there is you've gone to the bottom of your deadlift position, nice and neutral, then you've put your hands on the ground and you've lost neutral, and then you've dropped. All right, although that may be faster and easier for you, it's definitely not safer for you. So from here, when you're as low as you can be in your deadlift, your hands and feet, if you want to keep your back neutral, will have to be off the ground at the same time. There. So you're actually landing down on your front, not putting your hands down and jumping back. You probably don't have the flexibility to have your hands and your feet on the ground at the same time. So from that position, guys, on the ground, chest on the ground, we want to be neutral here as well. And particularly as we now start to push up. So those of you who did our push-up workshop last week will remember that we want the rib cage to be locked down. So from this position on the ground, from here, it's not a strict push-up. It's not this, because that starts to become a little bit more muscular. We're after a cardiorespiratory type movement here. So from that position on your front, you can leverage up onto your knees, is fine, but we don't want you doing this with your lower back. We don't want that lower back hyperextending, because that's when we start to jam up the facets in your back with that extension. So from on your front, guys, everyone back onto your front for me, please. Chest on the ground. And I want you to lock your rib cage down. So lock your ribs down to your pelvis. And now you can do a push-up on your knees. And hold that top position. All right, hold that top position of that push-up. Now what I want you to do is let your lower back overextend. So let your hips from here, let your hips drop down to the ground. Okay, that's what we are looking to avoid. We don't want to be going into that position. Lock your rib cage down. Now from there, you're going to jump back into the bottom of your deadlift. Let me give you a demo here first. So from the ground, rib cage locked down, jump back into the bottom of your deadlift. Now if you do that with your hands on the ground, I'm in this rounded back position again, not great on my lumbar spine. So you want to be jumping from here. It's quite a ballistic dynamic movement to there. Again, from here, ribs locked down to there, which is the bottom of my deadlift position. Your hands and feet should not be on the ground at the same time unless you have amazing flexibility. All right, so let's try that, guys. You're jumping and you're landing with your feet flat as if you're about to start a deadlift. Now the thing is here, guys, if you are tight, if you have flexibility issues, you're actually going to have to jump from this position and land even higher because you don't have the flexibility to get down as low. So if you do have those flexibility issues around your lumbar spine, around your hips, maybe around the knees and ankles, if you do have those issues there, guys, you're going to be more prone to injury in this movement because you're going to have to jump up further. And as you fatigue, that's not necessarily going to work very well for you. Final part of this is a jump. So we've gone back to your deadlift setup position. Maybe it looks like the back of a kettlebell swing. Your jump is looking for full extension through the knees, through the hips, and also through the shoulder. So that's shoulder flexion. So everyone just practice that jump for me. The reason for the clap above the head is because it takes us to shoulder flexion there. So when you jump, eyes should be on the horizon. Your body should be nice and straight with good posture. Okay, let me just talk you through that whole movement one more time. So everyone's standing for me. Standing, starting in good posture here. Everyone down to the bottom of a deadlift. Nice neutral back. Now, unless you are flexible enough to be able to have your hands on the ground, that's as low as you get to go. So now you're going to jump your feet off the ground. So all four limbs are off the ground at the same time. You're going to land on your front. Let's go. Kick your feet back, flat to ground. Hold it there. Now you can leverage up onto your knees with your rib cage locked down, ribs locked down. We don't want you leaving your pelvis behind on the ground. From there, nice powerful jump into the bottom of a deadlift. Hold it. Jump and clap. Good. So if you find that you're struggling with the flexibility with this, you can't keep your back neutral. Just like with a deadlift, we would say, well, let's raise the bar a little bit. Literally. Let's try and raise the bar a little bit so your back can stay neutral. With a burpee, your approach should be to raise the hands a little bit. So maybe you're doing this movement with your hands on plates or on a couple of pieces of foam. It allows you to then basically jump up from that position into an already neutral position, so you're not going to be damaging your back on this one. All right. Can I get everyone just to give me 3 burpees practicing that technique for me, please? Good. Keeping it nice and neutral the whole time. You can see this makes it a bit more of a dynamic movement because you're not just able to be slow and trying to climb up and down. There is that element of power as you're coming up. This should feel quite different to how you're doing a burpee. This is not necessarily the fastest way to do it, but it is the safest and most beneficial way to do it.